Ada didn't cry when her father died, she cried when they cut the light. The funeral was small, but the debts were loud. They lost the house, then the generator. Her mother started grinding pepper in the market. Her younger brother dropped out of school. Ada stayed calm. She was 23, pretty and tired of begging. So when the offer came, she said yes. Her aunt made the call. A man needed a wife, 70, wealthy, childless, the kind that had silence for company and staff for family. He won't last long, her aunt said. Marry him, smile in public. You'll be rich before the year ends. Ada didn't flinch. Will he sign the will? He promised. That was enough. His name was Chief Henry Oberdell. He wore silence like perfume, heavy and deliberate. Thick glasses, thin voice. Their meeting lasted 10 minutes. He looked her over once. You'll do, she nodded. You too. They both knew what this was, a contract, not a courtship. The wedding was stiff, no choir, no crowd, just expensive chairs and borrowed smiles. Ada wore white, sharp and spotless. He wore grey, his suit hanging on his bones like memory. His hand shook a little, but he stood tall. She held his arm. The priest began. Vows were said, rings exchanged, cameras flashed, then clapping and then coughing. A dry, broken sound from deep in his chest. He staggered, eyes wide. One hand reached out, then the collapse, sharp and sudden. His body hit the floor hard. Chairs scraped, people rushed. Someone screamed, someone prayed. The violinist dropped his bow. Ada did not kneel. She didn't even blink. Chief Henry Oberdell lay flat on the marble floor, mouth slightly open, eyes locked on something no one else could see. The priest called for a doctor. Guests hovered. A man tried CPR, but the chest stayed still. Ada stayed still too, until she remembered. The will. He hadn't signed it. She turned slowly. On the table behind the altar sat a brown folder. Inside it, the final paperwork. She had seen it that morning. Deeds, accounts, one signature missing. She stepped over to it, quiet as smoke. No one noticed. They were bent over the body. She opened the folder. The pen was in his pocket. She took it, fingers shaking. Pulled the will free. Laid it flat. One blank line, one chance. She didn't write his name. She guided his cold hand across the page, the pen moving with hers. The ink bled slow but enough. It looked real, not perfect, but close. She folded the paper, slipped it back into the file, closed the flap. Then she looked up. One man saw her, middle-aged, dark suit, calm stare. He didn't say a word. The priest turned. He's gone, he said. People gasped. A woman fainted. Ada straightened her back. The cameras blinked. And she smiled. The ambulance arrived 12 minutes too late. By then the hall was chaos. Guests fanned themselves, whispered, cried. Some had already left, not wanting to be part of something ugly. The bride still stood near the altar, untouched. Ada wasn't crying. Her makeup was perfect. Lips still glossed, veil still pinned. She didn't go near the body. Why would she? She was the widow now. 2 nurses zipped Chief Henry into a body bag. The priest mumbled prayers. No one clapped anymore. The music had stopped. Only one man kept watching her, the man in the dark suit. He didn't blink much, didn't move. Just leaned back in his chair with one elbow resting on the arm. Calm, like nothing surprised him. Ada noticed. She didn't know his name, hadn't seen him during rehearsal. He wasn't on the seating chart. But there he was, watching everything, especially her. She turned away. The lawyers came quickly. Henry's assistant, a tight man in suspenders, brought out the folder. Everyone held their breath. The will was intact, signed, witnessed. Ada's heart didn't race. She had made sure of that. Henry had left everything to her, the estate in Victoria Garden City, the company shares, 3 cars, 3 accounts. She was worth hundreds of millions now. No one clapped this time either. The priest asked if she wanted to make a statement. Ada nodded once. She stepped up to the microphone. Her voice was steady. I loved him, she said. Silence. He was kind, even in silence. And though our time was short, it was enough. She folded her hands, lowered her head. They botted. Most of them, except the man in the dark suit. He didn't flinch, just gave the smallest nod, like he knew better. Ada left the stage. Later, after the hall had cleared, she sat in the back seat of the black SUV. The driver was quiet, eyes on the road. Her aunt sat beside her, beaming. "You did well," her aunt said. Ada didn't reply. She was thinking about the man in the suit. Why hadn't he said anything? Why had he nodded? They reached the mansion. Tall gates opened without a sound. Staff lined the driveway. The new madam had arrived. She stepped out slowly, let the wind catch her veil. The sun caught the edge of her ring. The house was quiet. Henry's scent still lingered. She walked the halls like she owned them now, because she did. She climbed the stairs, opened the bedroom door, and sat on the edge of the bed. Her hand went to the file in her purse. She opened it again. The signature was there. Her work. She stared at it, wondering if it would hold up in court. It looked rushed, but clean. Believable. Then she heard it a knock. She stood. Walked to the door. It was him, the man from the wedding. Up close he was taller than she thought, neatly trimmed beard, calm eyes, the type who didn't blink under pressure. "I need a moment," he said softly. Ada didn't step aside. "Who are you?" He didn't answer. Instead, he reached into his jacket and pulled out something small. A phone. He tapped the screen once and showed her. A video. Ada's fingers went cold. It was her, by the altar, moving Henry's hand, guiding the pen, caught, from the side, blurry but clear enough. He put the phone back in his pocket and smiled, not cruel, not kind, just patient. "I think we should talk." Ada stepped back, just one step, but he noticed. She kept her voice low. "You recorded me." He didn't answer, just stood there like he had time, like she didn't. "You want money?" she said. Still no response. He leaned against the wall, arms folded. "You moved fast at the wedding, calm under pressure. Impressive. What do you want?" "Nothing yet," he said, "but we'll stay in touch." He turned to leave. Ada moved to shut the door, but he paused. "Oh," he added, glancing back, "my name's Charles. I was Henry's lawyer." Then he was gone. She closed the door slowly, locked it, stood there breathing. Her hands were cold. Her dress itched. The silence in the room felt louder now. She sat back on the bed and pulled out the folder again. Her eyes locked on the signature. It looked real. It had worked. Until now. Charles had her. And he wasn't bluffing. She didn't know what he wanted, not yet, but she knew blackmail when she saw it. He hadn't shouted. That was worse. Quiet men were dangerous. Ada stood up and paced the room. Could she erase the video? Pay him off? Threaten him back? But he was a lawyer. Henry's lawyer. He could have been on her side. Now he wasn't. She opened her drawer and pulled out a notebook, flipped to a blank page, wrote one word: options. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Message: I admire your nerve. Meet me at the bar inside Grand Crest Hotel, 8 p.m., alone. She stared at it, then deleted it. She'd go. Of course she would, but she needed control. At 7:40 p.m., Ada arrived. Red dress, heels, sharp liner, her hair tied in a sleek bun. She wasn't the girl from the wedding anymore. Charles was waiting at the far corner of the bar, whiskey in hand. No smile. Drink? He asked. No. She sat, crossed her legs. I'll pay, she said flatly. How much? He raised a brow. You think I want money? You showed me a video. You want something. He took a slow sip. Let's say I wanted the will to go uncontested. Ada's pulse jumped. He leaned closer. You forged it. That's prison time. She said nothing. But let's say I don't report it. What's your price? He smiled. I want access. I want to be your legal advisor. I want my cut. You already work for the estate. Correction, he said. I worked for Henry. Now I work for myself, and I work for silence. Ada stared at him. He had her. Smart, clean, patient. Fine, she said. You get 10%, nothing more. 20, he replied without blinking. 15. A pause. He extended his hand. She shook it. Just like that, the deal was sealed. Blackmail disguised as business. Ada walked out into the warm night air, heart still steady. She'd survived worse. She was still rich, still standing. But deep down, a chill stayed in her spine. Because Charles hadn't flinched once. The next morning, Ada woke up to silence. No clapping, no flashing cameras, no whispers. Just sunlight bleeding through white curtains and the quiet hum of an estate too big for one person. She stretched, slow and steady, checked her phone. Nothing from Charles. Good. Downstairs, the staff waited. They bowed, called her madam, asked if she'd like tea or champagne. Water, she said. They nodded, almost afraid. She walked the halls barefoot, the marble cool under her feet. The mansion was filled with expensive things, but they didn't move her. Paintings, statues, chandeliers. She didn't care. She wanted to see the study. Henry's private room, always locked. Today, it wasn't. She stepped inside. The air was dry, the walls lined with books and files. Heavy leather chairs faced each other. A glass decanter sat untouched on a side table. She moved straight to the desk. Drawer after drawer she searched. Financial records, old letters, a gun license, nothing illegal, nothing dangerous. Then she found a black notebook, thin, no title, just one page written in Henry's neat hand. If I die before the will is signed, notify Charles Oya immediately. He knows what to do. Ada froze. So Henry had prepared for this. She shut the notebook. Hard. Charles had known the plan, had been watching the whole time, maybe even waiting. She sat down, thought hard. She didn't trust him, but she'd already made a deal. For now, that would hold. But she needed more power, more protection. She dialed her aunt. Auntie, she said, voice low, I need a list. What kind of list? Every politician Henry ever funded, every businessman he blackmailed, every woman he kept. I want all of them. Why? Because dead men leave shadows, and I don't want one creeping behind me. Her aunt didn't argue. Ada hung up. Later that afternoon, Charles arrived. She met him in the garden, a wide lawn with trimmed hedges and fake calm. He wore a navy suit, same calm eyes. You read the note, he said. I did. So now you know. I also know you didn't act immediately. You waited, watched me forge it. Charles gave a slight nod. I had to be sure. Sure of what? That you were the kind of person worth betting on. Ada didn't smile. She walked to a bench, sat, looked at the horizon like it belonged to her. You want to keep this quiet? She asked. Of course. Then we don't talk about that will again. Ever. Charles nodded. Done. She turned to face him. What's your endgame? He shrugged. I'm a lawyer. I play long games. I'm not part of your game. He looked amused. Not yet? Ada stood. Then let's keep it that way. Charles left. That night, she locked the black notebook in a metal case under her bed. She made a copy of the signature page, burned the original. She opened a new bank account, moved 50 million into it. Private, untraceable. She was cleaning house, no more mistakes, no more witnesses, only leverage. Ada was reading by the pool when Charles called. She let it ring twice, picked up on the third. There's something you need to see, he said. His voice was flat but not casual. Come over, she replied. No, this can't leave my office. That got her attention. 1 hour later, she stepped into his law firm's private boardroom. Cold air, sharp lighting, thick soundproof walls, 2 files on the table. Charles stood behind a chair, arms folded. What's this? He pushed the thicker file toward her. Ada opened it. Her blood went cold. It was another will. Same date, same lawyer's stamp, same man, Chief Henry Oberdell. But this one left everything to someone else. A woman. Dr. Elaine Carter. Age 61, U.S. citizen, former associate, no children, no known address in Nigeria. Who is she? Ada asked, her voice suddenly dry. Charles didn't answer right away. She was Henry's wife, he said finally. Married in Maryland, 1992, never divorced. Ada blinked. That's impossible. She surfaced 3 days ago, Charles said. Flew in last night. Filed a motion this morning. She's contesting your marriage. Says it was invalid. Ada couldn't breathe. She looked back at the document. The name, the signature, the notarization. Everything looked real. "You didn't know about her?" Charles asked. "No," he nodded slowly. "Then either she's telling the truth, or someone's playing a deeper game." Ada stood. "What do you mean?" Charles walked over to the window. Henry wasn't stupid. He kept records, he kept backups, but this will it wasn't in any of his locked files. It came from a safety deposit box in Maryland. Key was mailed to the courthouse anonymously. Ada's skin prickled. She remembered the notebook. "If I die before the will is signed, notify Charles Oyer immediately." So maybe this wasn't a warning. Maybe it was a trap. She sat back down, hard. "What happens now?" "A hearing," Charles said. "In 10 days. If her claim is upheld, your marriage is void. The will you forged, worthless." Ada said nothing. Her hands gripped the armrest tight. "What do we do?" she asked. Charles gave a half smile. "I told you, I work for silence." He slid the second file across the table. "That's everything we could find on Elaine Carter." Ada flipped it open. There were photos, documents, boarding passes, property deeds in the US, but something was off. Too clean, too convenient, no gaps, no doubts, no questions. Ada frowned. "She's too perfect." Charles nodded. "Which is why I kept digging." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a photo. A grainy still from an airport camera. It showed Elaine, speaking to a man, tall, dark-skinned, clean-shaven. Charles tapped the photo. "That's Henry's nephew." Ada's eyes widened. She'd only met him once, briefly, at the wedding. He'd been polite, cold, distant. "And now?" she asked. "He's missing," Charles said. "Vanished 2 days after the funeral. Not answering calls, no bank activity. Just gone." Ada stared at the image. A fake wife, a missing heir, a planted will. This wasn't grief. It was a setup. Someone was coming for her. She closed the file, then looked Charles in the eye. "I want everything on that nephew. Phone records, emails, flight logs. Find him." Charles nodded once. Ada stood, and for the first time since Henry dropped dead, she was afraid. Not of losing the money, but of what she might find trying to keep it. The mansion was quiet again. Too quiet. Ada stood by the tall window in the master bedroom, watching the night soak into the sky. Her lawyer was chasing ghosts. The will was under fire. The money wasn't safe yet. And she couldn't sleep. She opened a bottle of red wine, poured a half glass, and sat on the edge of the bed in Henry's old robe, still soft, still smelling of old wood and faint cologne. She hated how big the house felt without him. Not because she missed him, she never loved the man, but because his death had made her visible, and visibility was dangerous. She reached for her phone, opened her gallery and scrolled, then stopped. There it was. A photo from the wedding one she hadn't noticed before. She was smiling at the crowd, her veil lifted, and beside her, someone was staring at her. Not Henry. Someone behind him. The nephew, not with anger, not with grief, with hunger. He had been watching her. She zoomed in. His eyes weren't on Henry. They were on her neckline. She frowned, tried to recall their conversation that day. Brief, polite, distant. But that look, it was not distant. And suddenly, a memory returned. A whisper. He had leaned in during the reception, said something low. "You look like trouble." She had laughed, nervous, brushing it off. Now it came back heavy. Had this been more than just a land grab? Was she the prize? The next morning, she went to Henry's old dressing room. Something about the mirror always unsettled her. She didn't go in often. Today, she opened the drawer beneath the mirror. Inside, cufflinks, a wallet, and a phone. Henry's second phone, still charged. She scrolled through contacts. Nothing useful. Then photos. One folder. Hidden. She opened it. At first, she didn't understand. Then she did. Photos of a woman young, dark-skinned, wide-eyed taken in this house. The guest room, the garden, the back stairs. She wasn't smiling in any of them. Ada's stomach twisted. Then a video. She clicked play. The camera shook slightly. The same girl, sitting on the bed, knees to chest, crying. Softly. Then a voice. Henry's voice. "We had a deal." The girl didn't respond. Then a knock at the door. Another voice entered, deeper, confident, the nephew. "Leave her," he said. Ada's blood ran cold. Henry had turned to the camera. "She's yours?" The nephew. "She's not yours either." The video cut. Ada dropped the phone. So this wasn't new. This house had held secrets, girls, deals, shame, and the nephew had been part of it, maybe longer than she thought. She grabbed her wine glass from last night, drank the rest in one motion. That night, a letter was slipped under her door. No name, no stamp, just one sentence. "He liked you because you reminded him of her. But I want you because you're not her." Ada folded the letter slowly. Someone had been inside the house. She stepped into the hallway. Empty. Then she heard it. The floorboard creak from the guest wing. Not Charles, not staff. She walked back into the room, locked the door, turned off the light. And for the first time, she didn't feel alone in the house. She felt hunted. 2 days later, Ada arrived at the courthouse in silence. No cameras, no press. Just her and Charles in the back seat of a tinted SUV. Rain tapped against the glass like it was nervous too. Inside, they were led to a small hearing room. The judge sat at the center, and across from them, her, Dr. Elaine Carter, tall, smooth voice, pearl earrings, no makeup. Everything about her said dignity, grace, truth. She didn't look at Ada, not once. Ada studied her anyway. The posture, the calm, the confidence. This woman didn't just believe her story, she owned it. The judge cleared his throat. "You are here to establish preliminary standing for a challenge to the Oberdell estate," he said. Elaine nodded. "Yes, Your Honor. I was married to Henry Oberdell in 1992, in Baltimore, Maryland." She handed over a slim folder. Certified documents, photos, marriage certificate, a scanned copy of their wedding invitation. Ada didn't blink, but her nails dug into her palm. The judge looked at Charles. "You've reviewed these?" Charles stood. "We have, Your Honor. We request time to verify their authenticity." Elaine finally looked at Ada. Her eyes were cold. "I don't want her arrested," she said quietly. "I want her erased." Outside the courtroom, Ada walked fast. Charles followed. "Tell me that was fake," she hissed. He didn't answer. "Charles, she's convincing," he said, "and the paperwork looks real. She's an actor, a plant." He stopped walking, turned to her. "Then prove it." Ada froze. For the first time, he didn't sound like an ally. Back at the mansion, she locked herself in the study, pulled out the folder she'd built on Henry's past scraps, rumors, unfiled documents. Then she noticed something strange. A transfer receipt. Henry had wired money, large amounts, to a US charity 2 years ago. She traced it. The charity didn't exist. "Its listed director? Elaine Carter." She stared at the screen. Her heart kicked once, hard. Not a wife, a setup. But why? Later that night, a knock. Her aunt. "I got something," the woman said, stepping inside, face pale. Ada shut the study door. "What?" "Henry's nephew," she said. "Found him." Ada's pulse jumped. "Where?" "Not where. When?" "He flew out of Lagos 2 days before the funeral, then came back using a different passport. Private entry, no record, fake name." "And now?" "Guess who booked the hotel room Elaine is staying in?" Ada didn't breathe. Her aunt handed her a printout. Reservation data, matching aliases, matching times. Elaine was living under the nephew's name. They were working together. That night, Ada sat alone in the master bedroom. No wine, no music. Just the soft hum of the air conditioner. She opened her laptop and started writing. A letter to the judge. Another to the press. A third to someone who didn't know yet that they were going to be useful. She was building her next move. Quiet, sharp, precise, because this wasn't about Henry anymore. It was about control, and she was done losing it. By morning, Ada had sent 3 emails. One to the courthouse, flagging suspicious inconsistencies in Elaine's ID trail. One to a well-known journalist in Abuja, and one, the most delicate, to an anonymous hacker she'd used once before, back when she needed to disappear for a few months after university. She didn't wait for replies. She changed her outfit, Wore all black, minimal makeup, hair tucked back. No need for masks now. Just strategy. She called Charles. "Meet me at the estate office," she said. "Why?" "Because if you're still on my side, you need to act like it. If you're not, I need to know today." He didn't answer, but he came. The estate office was quiet. Staff gone, cameras off. Ada placed a file on the desk between them. Inside, printouts, boarding passes, forged IDs. Proof that Elaine Carter had entered the country illegally. That she was connected to the missing nephew. That her marriage was never registered in Nigeria. Charles flipped through the pages slowly. When he got to the photo, the one from the hotel lobby showing Elaine embracing the nephew, he stopped. "How did you get this?" he asked. "I told you," she said. "I don't lose." Charles closed the file. "Impressive." "No," Ada said coldly. "Necessary." He didn't smile, didn't protest. He simply said, "Then we take it to court." Ada shook her head. "No, not yet. We go to the press." Charles frowned. "That's dangerous. They'll spin it." "I want them to spin it. I want the public to see her as a fraud before she opens her mouth in court. If we make her look like a con artist now, the judge will be looking for lies." She leaned forward. "You know how to leak stories without fingerprints. Do it." Charles nodded once, and in that moment, Ada knew he was still with her for now. By evening, the first blog post appeared. "Obadell Estate under siege. Is the widow being targeted by a fake American wife?" No name, no sources, but photos of Elaine outside the courthouse. Headlines hinting at scam tactics, questions about visas, allegations of manipulation. The story spread fast. By nightfall, 3 more blogs picked it up. The comments were split. "She looks too polished. Why now? Ada may be young, but she was the legal wife. This smells like greed." Ada sat back in her chair and watched it burn. At midnight, a new message arrived. Anonymous. No subject line, no signature. "You think you're smart, but he always said smart girls make the worst mistakes. See you in court, sweetheart." Attached. A video. Security footage inside her own house. Her, alone, in the study, flipping through Henry's files. Someone had tapped the cameras. She wasn't the only one playing chess. She clicked the second attachment. A photo of her standing on the balcony this morning drinking tea. From across the street. They were watching her. Still. She dropped the cup. It shattered. She ran to the hallway. Checked every camera light. Checked the red blinking LEDs. Some weren't blinking. She called the guard. "No one was scheduled for maintenance this week," he said. "Why?" She didn't answer. Just stood in the hallway, barefoot, robe hanging open, heart pounding. She was winning the public game. But someone had stepped inside her shadow. Ada had always imagined her enemies as loud. Shouting, threatening, breaking down doors. But this was colder. Whoever was watching her hadn't broken in, they'd blended in. Slipped between walls, behind screens, under her nose. She stopped trusting the cameras, stopped leaving lights off, slept with the drawer half open, hand near a pepper spray bottle she never used before. She didn't panic, she prepared, and waited, until her aunt called. "I found him," she said. "The nephew. I got a tip from one of the old staff." "Where?" "An apartment in Banana Island, top floor. Name on the lease is fake, but it's him, I'm sure." Ada didn't ask for proof. She drove there herself. The building was clean, private, no guards at the door, just quiet wealth. She stepped out of the car wearing dark glasses and walked straight to the elevator. No hesitation. The top floor door opened before she knocked. He stood there, same eyes, same fake warmth, the one she remembered from the wedding. "Didn't expect you to come alone," he said. She smiled thinly. "I'm full of surprises." He stepped aside. The room smelled like lavender and printer ink. On the coffee table, open files, burned CDs, legal stamps. "Elaine's not your aunt," she said, not waiting. He didn't deny it. "She's your girlfriend. Or your mother's friend. Doesn't matter. You planted her. You wanted to cut me out." He poured himself a drink. "Technically, you cut yourself in, with a forged signature." Ada didn't blink. "Still mine." He chuckled. "Not for long." She walked to the table, picked up one of the CDs. "You filmed me." "No," he said calmly. But someone did, and now they work for me. She met his eyes. You're bluffing. He smiled. Am I? She took a breath. So what's the plan? Replace me, reclaim the will, inherit it all? No, he said. I don't want the money. She raised a brow. Then what? I want the empire, the respect, the legacy. She laughed. You're a ghost. Nobody knows your name. Exactly, he said. And when they do, I'll control the narrative. Ada stepped forward. You're reckless, she said. No, he replied. I'm patient. He leaned closer. You could have been part of it. You had the look, the presence. But you played dirty first. He stepped back. And now you're cornered. Ada left without another word. But she wasn't rattled. Not yet. Back at the mansion, she opened a drawer she hadn't touched in weeks. Inside was Henry's old phone, the one with the hidden videos. She connected it to her laptop, began scanning for audio files, hidden folders. Then she found it, a backup file, corrupted but partially recoverable. She clicked. Henry's voice, crackly, low but clear. If anything happens to me before the signature is done, you look at Charles first. He knows where the original file is, and if he claims otherwise, he's part of it. Ada froze. She replayed it. If Charles denies the file exists, he's lying. Ada stood slowly. Charles hadn't mentioned another file. He'd seen the will, the second will, the fake wife, and said nothing. Because he knew. He was never just a lawyer. He was part of the plan. The next morning she called him, calm voice. I know. She didn't explain. She didn't have to. He was silent for 5 seconds, then spoke, low and flat. Then you also know what you have to do next. The line went dead. And Ada smiled. The courtroom was full. Not packed, just full of the right people. 2 journalists, 1 judge, 3 lawyers, and 4 security men watching every twitch like something was about to crack. It was. Ada sat still, black dress, straight spine, calm eyes. Elaine Carter sat across from her. Older, still poised, still pretending. The judge opened the file. We are here to determine the legal standing of Dr. Elaine Carter and the validity of her claim to the Oberdell estate. Charles stood, cold, polished, precise. He began listing Elaine's credentials, her marriage record, her relationship with Henry. The room listened, even Ada, until it was her turn. She rose slowly, placed a single envelope on the table. My lord, she said, I'd like to submit new evidence. Charles didn't blink. Elaine didn't move. The judge nodded. Inside the envelope, 3 items. 1. A signed confession from Henry's house staff detailing the nephew's secret visits and covert dealings with Elaine. 2. A flight log showing both Elaine and the nephew landed together under different names 2 weeks before the wedding. 3. An audio recording Henry's voice. If anything happens to me before the signature is done, look at Charles first. He knows where the original file is. The room froze. Charles's face didn't change, but his hands shifted. The judge looked up. Do you have that original file? Ada reached into her bag, pulled out a flash drive. Yes, my lord. Fully intact, time-stamped, backed up twice. The judge turned to Charles. Did you withhold this from the court? Charles said nothing. A minute passed, then another. He leaned forward. Your Honor, he said slowly, I withdraw from the case. Effective immediately. Gasps. Elaine stood. This is ridiculous. No! Ada cut in. This is the truth. She walked to the center of the room, lifted her chin. Elaine Carter is not Henry's wife. She never was. She is a proxy, a fraud, and she nearly got away with it. She turned. But not today. Outside, cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. Ada stood on the courthouse steps, shoulders square, wind tugging gently at her dress. She had prepared a speech. She didn't need it. She only said one thing. I didn't steal anything. I survived. Then walked away. 1 month later, she sat in the mansion garden, alone. The papers had moved on. Charles had disappeared, some said to South Africa. Others said worse. The nephew's accounts were frozen. Elaine left quietly on a night flight. No press, no protests. And Ada? She signed the papers. The money was hers, the estate. the business, the legacy. Legally this time. At the press conference, she wore white, not to mourn, to reset the story. She stood behind the podium. No notes, no nerves. "I'm not the villain you want," she said. "But I'm the story you can't look away from." She paused, then smiled. The cameras clicked.